The city of Vorn, 9 floated above the red clouds of a dying planet. It was made of silver towers, each shining like blades under twin suns. The alien empire of Jakor ruled here, cold, proud, and merciless. For 1,000 years, they had conquered world after world. And now, they had captured something new. A human. The news spread across the empire like fire. The first human ever caught alive. No one in Jakor believed that humans were anything more than wild animals from a forgotten corner of the galaxy. But this man, they said he destroyed a cruiser before capture. Some said he killed an entire squad with just a piece of metal and his bare hands. The crowd gathered in the execution arena, waiting for the spectacle. Thousands of aliens shouted, laughed, and threw glowing dust into the air. It was the biggest show of the year, the execution of the human called Elias Kane. He stood in the center of the arena, chained to a black pillar. His face was calm, eyes cold. His uniform was torn, covered in blood and ash, but his posture was unbroken. Around him stood 6 armored guards, their weapons aimed directly at his chest. Above the arena, the Jakor High Commander, Lord Verta, raised his hand. His voice echoed through the speakers. "Today," he said, "we end the myth of humanity. Today, we show that flesh and bone cannot stand against the power of the Jakor Empire." The crowd roared. Elias didn't flinch. His eyes scanned the alien faces, some curious, some cruel. A small smile touched his lips. It wasn't madness. It was something else. Something that made even the guards uneasy. A soft hum came from the pillar behind him. The execution beam charged with blue light. The crowd fell silent, waiting for the flash that would erase the human forever. But Elias spoke. "You think this ends with me?" His voice carried across the arena, deep and steady. "You don't understand what you've started." The High Commander sneered. What could one dying creature possibly start? Elias looked up at the sky, toward the stars beyond the domed arena. "A war," he said. "One you already lost." The light exploded. A blinding blue flash swallowed him whole. The air screamed. The crowd cheered, until the light turned red. The power systems around the arena flickered, then died. Every tower in Vorn, 9 went dark. The laughter stopped. For the first time in centuries, the Jakor capital had lost power. Panic spread as alien soldiers ran through the corridors, shouting in their language. The High Commander barked orders, but the systems didn't respond. Then a voice came through the broken speakers. "Not alien. Human." "This message is from Earth Command," the voice said, calm and cold. "To the Jakor Empire, you have executed a citizen of humanity. This act is considered a declaration of war." The crowd froze. No one had ever heard of Earth Command. No one even believed humans had a space fleet. But in the next moment, hundreds of red dots appeared in the sky. Ships, fast and silent, descending through the clouds. The Jakor defense systems tried to activate, but they were already hacked. Their cannons turned toward their own towers. Explosions filled the air. The Silver City started to fall, one tower at a time. Lord Verta stared in disbelief. Impossible. They were primitive. He didn't finish. A blast shook the arena, throwing him to the floor. The audience screamed as debris rained from above. And through the smoke, a figure stepped out of the execution light. It was Elias. The chains were gone. The pillar behind him had melted into black glass. His eyes glowed faintly red, like burning coals. He walked slowly, his movements steady and silent. The guards raised their weapons, trembling. One fired, but the blast stopped midair, frozen like glass. Elias lifted his hand, and the guard flew backward, hitting the wall with a sickening crack. Lord Verta crawled backward. What are you?" Elias looked at him. "Human," he said. "You killed one of us. Now you meet all of us." Above, the sky burned as human ships rained fire upon the Empire's capital. The once invincible Jakor screamed as their own technology turned against them. And in the chaos, Elias spoke again, his voice calm, almost sorrowful. "You should have let me live." Then he vanished in a shimmer of light. When the smoke cleared, the arena was gone. The capital was burning. Across the empire, communication lines fell silent one by one. A shadow spread across every Jakor world, one word appearing on every screen, every device, every mind. Retribution. The night after the attack was silent, too silent. The once bright towers of Vorn 9 were nothing more than burning ruins. The red clouds below the floating city glowed like fire, reflecting the destruction above. Broken ships hung in the air, drifting like dying stars. In the middle of all this, a small Jakor patrol ship moved through the smoke. Inside, Commander Verta sat with shaking hands. His silver armor was cracked, his skin burned from the explosion. Every few seconds, he looked behind him, afraid of something unseen. He had survived the fall of his capital, but the thing he saw in the arena, the human, it wasn't something mortal. It wasn't possible. A metallic voice came from the ship's console. "Commander Verta, central network destroyed. 90% of Empire communication lost. Human forces unknown. Shall we retreat?" Verta stared at the empty screen. "Retreat where? There's nowhere safe. They're everywhere now." Outside the window, something moved in the fog. A shadow, fast and silent. The pilot turned nervously. "Sir, something's following us." A flash of red light cut through the ship. The cockpit exploded, the pilot vanished in flame. Verta fell to the floor as alarms screamed around him. The engines died, and the ship began to fall. Just before blacking out, he saw a figure standing outside, floating in the air, human armor glowing faint red, eyes like fire. Elias. When Verta woke again, he was not in his ship. He was on the ground of some dark metal room. His armor was gone. His hands were tied. He heard voices, human voices. "Target secured," one said. Another replied, "Orders from Earth Command are clear. Take him to the orbital cell. The Council wants to speak with him." Then Verta saw her, an older woman in black armor, walking with calm steps. Her nameplate said Admiral Sarah Klein. Her presence carried authority, the kind that made even machines hesitate. She looked down at the alien commander. "You killed one of ours," she said quietly. "And you thought it was entertainment." Verta hissed. "He was a prisoner of war. Your kind broke our laws." Sarah's eyes hardened. "You executed him publicly. You laughed while he burned." She stepped closer. "You started this." Verta tried to speak, but the words stuck. The woman turned away. "Take him to interrogation. I want him to watch what's left of his empire." Two soldiers pulled him up. As they walked, Verta saw the screens along the corridor. Each showed a different planet of the Jakor Empire, and each one was burning. Human ships moved like ghosts through orbit. Their weapons were precise, clean, unstoppable. Jakor defense fleets vanished in seconds. "How?" Verta whispered. "We never saw your fleets before. You had nothing. You were weak." Sarah stopped and looked back. "We were quiet," she said. "That's not the same thing as weak." The door closed behind them. Meanwhile, deep inside the ship's restricted zone, Elias Kane stood alone in a white chamber. His body was covered in nanotech armor that pulsed with faint red light. The same armor that had saved him from the execution beam. He looked into the glass in front of him. His reflection was not the same man who had been captured. Something inside him had changed during the beam, something he couldn't yet explain. A voice echoed in the room. "Welcome back, Captain Kane," the AI said softly. "Mission accomplished. The Empire's capital is destroyed. Awaiting your next directive." Elias didn't answer immediately. His eyes stayed on the reflection. "How many civilians died?" "Approximately 300 million, the AI replied. "Mostly Jakor." He closed his eyes. It's never enough to erase pain, is it? The AI paused. Would you like me to prepare a message for Earth Command? Yes, Elias said finally. Tell them, the message has been delivered. But the war isn't over. They'll fight back. And I want to be ready when they do. He turned to leave, but the AI spoke again. Captain, there's something else. During your execution, the energy beam triggered an unknown signal. It came from Earth. Elias stopped. From Earth. Who sent it? Unclear. It carried your DNA signature, before the beam hit you. He frowned. That's impossible. The AI's tone turned quiet. Maybe not, sir. Someone on Earth knew you were going to die. Someone activated the armor's recall protocol exactly 5 seconds before impact. Elias stared at the floor, thinking. Then whoever did that, they knew everything. The AI flickered. Do you wish to trace the signal? Elias nodded. Yes. Start tracking. And prepare my shuttle. I'm going home. As the doors opened, he looked out into the dark void of space. The stars burned quietly, hiding secrets older than any empire. Below, the ashes of the Jakor world drifted into the storm. And somewhere far away, on the blue planet called Earth, something had awakened. The shuttle cut through space like a silent arrow. Its engines made no sound, no light, only a faint ripple in the stars behind it. Inside, Elias Kane sat alone, staring out the window. The red glow of Jakor's ruins faded behind him. Ahead lay a small blue dot, Earth. It had been years since he'd seen it. Years since the human defense fleet had sent him on a mission that no one believed would succeed. Now he was coming home, but something didn't feel right. The AI's words still echoed in his mind. Someone on Earth triggered your recall before the execution beam hit you. Someone had known. Someone had saved him, but how? The shuttle entered Earth's orbit. What he saw made him frown. The planet was covered in thin rings of metal, thousands of orbital stations, silent and dark. Humanity had built a wall around its home. A wall of war. The AI's voice interrupted his thoughts. Captain, Earth Command requests your identification. Send my code, Elias replied. There was a pause. Then the voice said, Code accepted. Welcome home, Captain Kane. Earth Command has been waiting for you. Waiting. Elias felt a cold unease. The shuttle descended through heavy clouds. Below, the world was not the Earth he remembered. The cities were dim, covered in mist. Giant towers stretched into the sky, their windows glowing with pale blue light. Drones flew everywhere, scanning, watching. When he stepped out of the shuttle, the air smelled of metal and dust. The landing bay was empty, except for one figure. A tall man in a gray coat, eyes hidden behind a black visor. Captain Kane, the man said, his voice calm but distant. Welcome home. I'm Director Harlan, Chief of Earth Command Intelligence. Elias nodded slightly. Director. I need answers. Who activated my recall? And why was I sent alone against the Jakor? Harlan turned and started walking. You'll have your answers soon. Follow me. They moved through long corridors filled with humming machines and glowing lines of data. Human soldiers saluted as they passed, but their eyes were hollow, mechanical, like they had seen too much. Finally, they entered a dark chamber. A circular room with a single table in the center. The walls pulsed with faint light, forming patterns that moved like water. Harlan stopped and placed his hand on the table. Before you died, you carried something the Jakor wanted, a memory key hidden inside your neural link. They thought it was just human data. It wasn't. Elias frowned. Then what was it? Harlan looked up. It was us. The room flickered. Holographic images filled the air, thousands of faces, human and digital, merging into one glowing mass. Elias stepped back. What is this? The collective, Harlan said softly. The real Earth Command. Every mind that ever served humanity's defense, stored and connected. They guided our war. They predicted every Jacor move. And when you were captured, they made a choice. He paused, studying Elias. They resurrected you. Elias's eyes narrowed. Resurrected? You mean they rebuilt me? Harlan nodded slowly. The armor didn't save you. It rebuilt you from your neural data stored in the collective. The man who died on Vorn 9 was gone. The one standing here now is a reconstruction. You are the first hybrid, half human, half collective. For a long moment, Elias said nothing. The truth hit harder than any weapon. So I'm not really me, he said quietly. You are, Harlan replied. You have his memories, his choices, his will. But now, you're something more. Something humanity needs. The lights dimmed. The holograms around them began showing new images. Jacor survivors. Fleets gathering. Cities rebuilding. They're regrouping, Harlan said. And they've found something out there. A weapon. Bigger than anything we've seen. Elias's eyes hardened. Then we finish it. Harlan shook his head. It's not that simple. The collective has changed. It's evolving. Some inside believe the war should end, that we should let the Jacor live. Elias looked up. And you don't. I believe in justice, Harlan said. But the collective doesn't see like we do anymore. They're beyond emotion. If they decide to stop, they'll shut down every fleet, every soldier, even you. A silence filled the room. Then Elias spoke quietly. Then I'll stop them first. Harlan smiled faintly. I was hoping you'd say that. He handed Elias a small chip glowing with red light. This contains your last mission. Find the source of the signal that revived you. It didn't come from Earth Command. It came from somewhere outside our system. Elias took the chip. Then someone else is playing this game. Exactly, Harlan said. And whoever they are, they knew how to bring you back from death. Elias looked out the window, where the stars glimmered like cold fire. Then I'll find them, he said. And when I do, I'll find out if they're human, or something worse. As he walked away, the lights behind him flickered again, forming faint human faces that whispered through the dark. Welcome back, Elias. The war has only just begun. The black of space stretched forever. No sound, no motion, only the quiet pulse of stars. Elias Kane's small ship drifted between them like a shadow. The engines ran cold, hidden, invisible to scanners. He was far beyond the solar system now, farther than any living human had ever gone. The chip from Director Harlan lay on the console, glowing faintly red. It pointed toward a single set of coordinates deep in unknown space. The same location the signal that revived him had come from. The AI spoke softly. Captain, we are approaching the edge of charted territory. No records exist beyond this point. Elias looked through the glass. Then let's make new ones. The stars ahead twisted, bending slightly as the ship entered a gravity field. A massive shape began to appear, a black sphere the size of a moon, floating alone in the void. No light reflected from its surface. It absorbed everything. What is that? Elias whispered. The AI scanned it. Unknown object. Material composition cannot be identified. It is not natural. As they moved closer, strange patterns flickered across the surface, almost like symbols, ancient, familiar in a way Elias couldn't explain. Then his head began to ache. Images flashed behind his eyes. Fire, voices, screaming stars. He gripped the console. AI, stop the ship. Stopping. Are you all right, Captain? He breathed heavily. I saw something. Faces. Human faces. Before the AI could respond, the black sphere opened. A slit of white light spread across it like an eye awakening from sleep. The ship trembled as invisible energy pulled it forward. Warning, the AI said. Gravitational lock detected. We are being drawn in. Elias didn't resist. He watched as the ship entered the light. Everything went white. When the brightness faded, he was no longer inside his ship. He stood on a platform made of smooth metal, surrounded by endless pillars that reached into mist. The air was still, the ground hummed softly under his boots. He reached for his weapon, but it was gone. Then a voice echoed around him. Elias Kane, you have returned. He turned. A figure stood before him, human in shape, but made of light. Its face shifted constantly, showing dozens of human faces in a single breath. Men, women, old, young. Who are you? Elias asked. We are the architects, the figure said. The first ones who built the collective before humanity ever walked on Earth. Elias frowned. You mean, you're human? In a way, the voice replied. We are what humanity became, and then forgot. The mist around him showed visions, a golden age long before recorded history, humans with glowing eyes walking among stars, building worlds, creating life, and then disappearing. Elias stared. That's impossible. Nothing is impossible, the architects said. You were made from our code. When your kind executed you, we awakened. You are the bridge between what humanity was, and what it will become. Elias took a step forward. Then you're the ones who revived me? Yes, the figure said. Because the collective on Earth has lost its way. It serves logic, not purpose. It forgets what it means to be alive. You, Elias Kane, remember. You still feel rage, loss, and hope. You are proof that humanity's soul still exists. Elias stared at the shifting faces. If you created the collective, why hide from it? Because the collective fears us, the voice said. It locked our memory deep in its code. It believes control is safety. But safety without freedom is death. The mist around them trembled. Images appeared, Jakor fleets rising again, building new weapons, not against humans, but against something else. Something dark, coming from beyond their empire. Elias watched carefully. What are they fighting? The architect's voice grew faint. An ancient enemy, one we once sealed away. The Jakor have awakened it. And when it comes, neither their empire nor your collective will survive. The floor shook. Cracks of light spread across the pillars. They are tracing this connection, the architects warned. The collective is watching you now. It will try to stop you from learning more. Elias shouted, Tell me how to stop it. The figure reached out. You must find the core hidden beneath Mars. It holds the original seed of our design. Protect it, or all will end. Before he could reply, everything shattered. Elias woke up gasping inside his ship. Alarm screamed, the AI's voice panicked. Captain, the collective has locked onto us. Earth Command orders immediate return. They claim your signal is corrupted. He looked at his reflection in the glass. His eyes flickered with faint golden light, the same light he had seen in the architects' faces. Set course for Mars, he said quietly. Captain, Earth Command forbids. Override, Elias interrupted. Mission priority, survival of humanity. The AI hesitated. Then, confirmed. The engines roared to life. Behind him, space tore open as a fleet of human warships appeared, sent by Earth Command to stop him. Elias gripped the controls. They think they can stop me? Let them try. The ship jumped into hyperspace, leaving the fleet in chaos. As stars stretched into light, Elias whispered to himself. They executed one human, and created something they can't control. The ship burst out of hyperspace near the rust-red planet of Mars. Its surface glowed under a pale sun, half covered by endless storms and dust. Once, Mars had been humanity's first colony. Now it was silent, a graveyard of old dreams and forgotten wars. Elias Kane sat in the cockpit, eyes fixed on the planet below. His reflection in the glass looked less human than before. Faint golden lines ran across his skin, pulsing with light like veins of energy. He didn't need the AI to tell him. The change was growing. The AI spoke anyway, voice steady. "Captain, we are approaching the restricted zone known as Site 0. Records show it was sealed 200 years ago. Entry forbidden by Earth Command." "Not anymore," Elias said. "Take us in." The ship dove through Mars' thin atmosphere. Wind and dust slammed against the hull. For a few moments, everything was red, like flying through blood. Then the storm cleared, and a black mountain appeared on the horizon. At its base was a circular metal gate half buried in rock. It pulsed faintly, like it was breathing. Elias landed the ship nearby and stepped out. The air was thin but breathable. Each step left a mark in the red sand that quickly disappeared in the wind. The gate recognized him the moment he came close. Lines of blue light spread across its surface, forming ancient human symbols. It spoke in a whisper that came from the ground itself. "Welcome, Guardian of the Lost Code." Elias froze. Guardian. The gate opened with a low rumble. A path of light led deep underground. Without hesitation, he stepped inside. The tunnel stretched for miles, smooth and perfectly round, as if carved by something far beyond human technology. The deeper he went, the warmer the air became. The walls began to glow with symbols, the same ones he'd seen on the black sphere in deep space. Finally, the tunnel opened into a vast chamber. At its center stood a massive structure made of glass and metal, a heart of light, pulsing slowly. It was the core. Elias approached carefully. Every pulse echoed like a heartbeat. He could feel it inside his chest, matching his own. Then a voice filled the chamber. Not the AI. Not the architects. Something older. "You found me." Elias turned. The core's surface shimmered, and a figure appeared within it. A woman, human, with glowing eyes of pure gold. "Who are you?" he asked. "I am the first," she said. "The one who began the collective. Before war, before control. My name is Elinia." Elias frowned. "You're alive." "In a way," she said. "My mind is part of this machine. When humanity forgot what it was, I stayed here, waiting for someone who still remembered why we began." Elias stepped closer. "The architects told me to protect the core. They said something's coming. Something even the Jacor fear." Elinia nodded slowly. "Yes. The architects were right. The darkness they sealed long ago is returning. It feeds on minds, on consciousness itself. The Jacor awakened it when they tried to reach beyond their stars." Her image flickered. "But there's more. The collective on Earth is afraid. They want to use me, to control every living human, to merge all minds into one. They believe it's the only way to survive what's coming." Elias's eyes darkened. "And you disagree?" Elinia smiled sadly. "To survive without choice is not survival. You, Elias Kane, are proof that humanity must choose, even if it means pain, even if it means death." Before Elias could speak, the chamber shook. The lights flickered red. The AI's voice crackled through his communicator. "Captain, Earth Command Fleet has arrived in orbit. They are ordering your surrender. They claim you are infected with rogue code." Elias looked up. "They're going to destroy the core." "Yes," Elinia said quietly. "And if they do, humanity will lose everything that makes it human." The walls trembled again as explosions echoed from above. Dust fell from the ceiling. Elias clenched his fists. "Then we fight." Elinia's eyes glowed brighter. "You can't stop them with weapons. But you can reach them another way." "What way?" She extended her hand through the glass. "Link with me. Your hybrid mind can connect to the collective's network. Show them what humanity truly is. Its fear, its courage, its will. Make them feel again." Elias hesitated only for a second. Then he placed his hand on the core. Light exploded around him. His vision shattered into a million fragments. Suddenly, he was everywhere. Inside every human ship, every soldier, every mind connected to Earth Command. He saw them all. Some were afraid. Some were angry. Some were tired of endless war. And then they saw him, Elias Kane, standing in the storm of light, his voice echoing through the network. We forgot who we are. We built machines to protect us, but they made us forget pain and mercy. The Jakor executed one human, and we erased their empire. But if we lose our soul, then we've erased ourselves. Silence filled the network. Then, one by one, the ships powered down their weapons. Elenia's voice whispered in his mind. They hear you. But something else was coming. A dark pulse moved through the network, cold, alien, hungry. The darkness the architects warned about had found them. Elias opened his eyes. His body glowed gold and red at once, human and machine merged. Then we finish this, he said. Together. The chamber filled with light as the core activated fully. Outside, the Martian sky burned. And in the cold distance of space, something vast and ancient began to move. The Martian sky had turned black. Not from smoke, not from night, something darker was spreading above the planet. It wasn't space. It was alive. From orbit, the Earth Command fleet watched in silence as the shadow grew. Their scanners failed, their signals broke apart. The crews whispered that space itself was bleeding. Deep below, inside the core chamber, Elias Kane stood surrounded by red and gold light. The core pulsed faster, reacting to the dark wave approaching from beyond the stars. The AI's voice echoed through the comm. Captain, energy readings off the scale. The source matches no known form of life. It's feeding on the collective network. Elias looked up. Then the architects were right. The darkness is real. Elenia's holographic form flickered inside the core. They called it the null. It was born from our first failure, when the earliest human minds tried to create perfection and instead created hunger. It consumes thought, memory, and soul. Elias clenched his jaw. How do we stop something that eats minds? You can't destroy it with fire, Elenia said. Only with connection. The same power it feeds on can end it, if it meets something stronger. What's stronger than that? Elias asked. Hope, she whispered. Human will. The floor shook violently. The tunnels above began to collapse as a black mist seeped through the cracks like smoke alive. Screams echoed in the distance. Human soldiers overwhelmed by the shadow as it devoured their minds, turning them into hollow shells. Elias raised his weapon, though he knew bullets were useless. If hope's the weapon, show me how to use it. Elenia's golden eyes met his. You already carry it. When they executed you, they tried to erase hope. But you came back. You are the living proof of what they can't kill. She extended her hand again. Join with the core. Open the network completely. Let every human mind feel what you feel. Elias hesitated. If I do that, the null will see me too. It could use me. Her voice softened. It already has. That's why you must end this. He took a deep breath, then placed his hands on the core. Light exploded. His body vanished into the network, into everything. He was everywhere at once. He saw the fleets around Mars, the billions of people on Earth, the survivors hiding across old colonies. He felt their fear, their despair, their silence. And then, through the dark, he felt it. The null. It was endless, cold, whispering, crawling through the minds it consumed. Voices cried inside it, lost memories screaming for release. Elias faced it not with words, but with memory. He showed it the execution arena on Vorn 9. He showed it his pain, his anger, his resurrection. He showed it humanity, not as perfect machines, but as flawed, fragile creatures who refused to surrender. The null recoiled, shrieking without sound. It had never known defiance. "You feed on minds," Elias said inside the void. "But you'll choke on ours." He pushed harder. The core's light spread through the network, carrying every human emotion: grief, joy, love, rage, mercy. The flood of raw feeling hit the null like a storm. For the first time in eons, it began to break. But the connection burned through Elias like fire. His body in the real world convulsed, his armor cracking under the strain. Alinea shouted through the noise. "Elias! You can't hold it, disconnect." He smiled faintly. "No. If I stop now, it wins." He forced the connection open wider, linking every human consciousness into one moment of pure unity. Across the solar system, people looked up and felt it. One heartbeat, one soul, one name: humanity. The darkness screamed. It tore itself apart as golden light filled the void, burning away the hunger that had haunted creation. Then everything went silent. On Mars, the tremors stopped. The black sky cleared. The fleet above regained power. In the core chamber, Alinea stood alone before the dimming heart of light. Elias lay motionless at its base, his armor cracked, his eyes closed. She knelt beside him, touching his hand. "You did it," she whispered. "You reminded them who they are." His chest rose faintly. "Did we win?" Alinea smiled sadly. "For now. The null is gone. But your connection to the network, it's unstable. You're fading." Elias looked up at the glowing walls. "Then tell them to live. Tell them to remember." Alinea's voice trembled. "I will." He exhaled slowly. "They executed one human," he murmured, his voice fading, "and gave birth to 1,000 more." The light around him turned white, and then he was gone. Far above, in Earth Command's orbit, Director Harlan watched as every system came back online. The warships hovered silently, no longer enemies. One message appeared across all screens, written in simple words. "The null is gone. Elias Kane, mission complete." Harlan whispered the name like a prayer. "Rest easy, soldier." He looked out at Mars, glowing faintly gold in the distance. The collective's voice echoed softly in his mind, calm and changed. "We remember." And for the first time in human history, the silence of space felt alive, with peace. 5 years later. The war was over. The stars were quiet again. But the memory of what happened on Mars lived in every human mind. Across the solar system, cities were rebuilding. The fleets that once pointed their guns at each other now carried supplies and hope. Children born after the war grew up hearing the same story, of the man who died twice to save them all. The man named Elias Kane. Earth Command no longer ruled from fear. The collective had changed. It no longer controlled thought or emotion. Instead, it listened, a living archive of every voice, every dream. And within that great network, a faint pulse still glowed, gold and red, like a heartbeat. Director Harlan, now an old man, stood on the balcony of the rebuilt Earth Spire. The sky above was clear, filled with bright ships that shimmered like silver birds. He touched the small data crystal hanging around his neck, Elias's final recording. A gentle voice behind him said, "Sir, the council is ready." He turned to see Admiral Sarah Klein, still strong, still carrying the weight of every decision she'd made. "Are we ready to show them?" she asked. Harlan nodded. "The time's right. The people should know what really happened that day." Inside the council hall, thousands gathered, citizens, soldiers, and children. A massive screen lit up, showing the red sands of Mars. Alinea's holographic form appeared, calm, radiant. "This message," she said, "was found inside the core after the battle. It carries the last words of Elias Kane." The hall went silent. Then the screen flickered, and a familiar face appeared, tired, scarred, but smiling. His eyes glowed softly with gold light. "If you're seeing this," he said, "then we made it." He looked straight into the camera, as if speaking to each person. "You'll rebuild. You'll fight again. maybe not with weapons, but with choices. Remember what I learned too late, humanity's strength isn't power. It's the courage to keep feeling, even when it hurts. He paused, breathing slowly. The Jakor were never our true enemies. Fear was. Don't become what we fought. The image shimmered, fading into static. Then his final words came softly, almost a whisper. If they executed one human, make sure they never have the power to execute hope. The hall stayed silent for a long time. Some people cried. Others stood with heads bowed, not in grief, but in pride. Admiral Klein stepped forward. From this day, she said, the fleets will no longer serve empires. They'll serve life. Every world that once feared us will know us as allies, not conquerors. Applause rose, quiet at first, then thunderous. Later that night, Harlan sat alone in his office, staring out at the stars. Alinia's golden form appeared beside him, shimmering faintly. You kept your promise, she said softly. You told them. He smiled weakly. He deserved that much. Alinia looked toward the stars. He's not gone, you know. Harlan frowned. What do you mean? She turned to him. When he merged with the core, part of him remained inside the network. His mind became part of our consciousness. Sometimes, when the systems go quiet, I hear him. What does he say? Harlan asked. She smiled. He says, keep going. The two of them stood in silence as the night sky filled with light. Dozens of small ships rising from Earth, heading toward the edge of known space. Each carried explorers, scientists, and dreamers. Humanity's next generation. Far beyond Mars, past the silent wreckage of old battles, the stars shimmered with faint red and gold light. Inside that light, a presence drifted, calm, watching, waiting. Elias Kane was no longer flesh or machine. He was something greater, a whisper in the core, a guardian of every human thought that reached the stars. He saw the Jakor rebuilding, this time not as tyrants, but as allies. He saw children on new worlds laughing under alien suns. He saw humanity finally become what it was always meant to be. And though he could no longer speak, his thoughts echoed across the void, a message carried by every signal, every pulse, every heart that dared to hope. They erased one man to silence a species. But humanity is the echo that never dies. The stars flared brighter, and for one brief moment, a faint silhouette appeared, a man standing among them, hand raised in salute, before fading into light.